Welcome to the Winning Edge podcast, where we share focus, fueling, and faith-filled stories and strategies to give young athletes the tools they need to become the best versions of themselves as athletes and individuals.
What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you. We are your hosts. I'm Lindsay, former collegiate athlete, coach, and educator, and educational coach for over 20 years.
And I'm Stacy, registered dietitian nutritionist of 18 years and mom of 2 young athletes.
On today's episode, I am really happy to welcome a former teammate and friend who continues to share her passion for basketball as a coach, while making a huge impact on the lives of her athletes and her students. She is a standout athlete from Piscataway, New Jersey, where she was a varsity player in field hockey, basketball, and softball. She has a state championship under her belt, was an all-state athlete in both field hockey and basketball, an all-county athlete for softball, and had countless D1 offers for both field hockey and basketball. She attended UNC Asheville, where she was a member of the women's basketball team, and she set a record as the first all-conference player for 3 consecutive years, freshman through junior year. She led the team in scoring, rebounding, and steals all 3 years as well. She transferred to Wingate University for her senior year, where she was the SAC Conference Player of the Year and was a Kodak All-American Honorable Mention. As a coach, she has experience coaching at the collegiate level. As an assistant coach, she was active in the recruiting process, as well as strength and conditioning training, and has many years of coaching experience as a varsity basketball coach, bringing her team to the state championship not once, but 3 times. I mean, Jess, you are the real deal, and we're so incredibly thankful that you wanted to join us.
Yeah, Jessica, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to talk with us. Your experience and just your resume was so fun to read and all of the things you've accomplished. So I'm excited for our listeners to get to hear from you as well.
Oh, I'm so thankful to be here. Honored that you guys would have me on, and super excited to share with you guys. But yeah, that was a lot, Lindsay. Thanks for reading all that.
I mean, it's impressive, like I remember when you transferred in, like, man, she's good, like, dang.
It brought the whole team to another level. That's a whole other podcast we need to talk about.
Yeah, and her energy, everything was just, your personality was amazing too. Yeah. But then like reading everything that you did, okay, first of all, it was like, oh, she went to Wake Forest. I was like, no, she was at UNC Asheville. But like seeing all your accomplishments there, like I didn't even know when I met you.
Well, yeah, I chose Wingate because back then, when you went into the transfer portal, you had to sit out a year if you went D1 to D1. And I just did not want to sit out a year. So when Coach Jackman knocked on my door, that was all God, because I didn't love basketball anymore. I wanted to finish my career somewhere and just enjoy it again. And I sure did. Wingate was awesome. That was God all the way, and it was awesome.
I love that you just said that, and I want to pause and go back for a minute because I think it's such a important thing. We talk, a lot of our podcast is really helping parents and young athletes love the game in a way that then they want to work hard, they want to invest. It's about something just so much bigger than just the game. And so talk to me a little bit about, you were playing D1, you were losing the love, like you were great. Mm-hmm. And so even transferring into this new school, getting in the right environment, like talk about that for a second.
I can't reiterate enough how important the environment you're in matters. I came from a extremely winning culture at Piscataway High School. I was a winner. My teams won, that's what I experienced. So when I went to Asheville, I experienced losing at a rapid scale very quickly, and I didn't know how to cope with that. While individual success is great, and I appreciate everything Lindsay said now, that my team wasn't very good. And I take so much responsibility for that because I didn't know how to be a leader then. I knew how to be a great individual basketball player. And being that wasn't good enough to help my team win. And I didn't know how to help us win because I don't know if it's, just, previous coaches that I had, or just my mentality as a whole about who I was, my identity. I did not know how to lead in the way that I should have. And I feel like I let a lot of people down while being hugely successful. I let a lot of people down because I didn't know how to do that yet. And so when I transferred and, being under Coach Jackman, man, what a guy, older guy, must have been, in his late 60s when he recruited me. But he knew how to fit players into his system, into his culture. So he had an established culture that you came into. At Asheville, we didn't have that, unfortunately. So we were trying to figure things out as we went. It wasn't successful. Regardless of my individual success, my team's success was just not great. And I had to figure that out.
Which brings me to another question I wanted you to share with our audience. So I love that kind of you talk about you were at the Stevens School. They didn't have the culture, and the culture you went to at the second school was so vitally important. Even though you were independently successful, the team's success was greater because of this culture, which I think is huge. But there's something on your resume, probably, I don't know if our listeners heard or not. You are not only the women's head basketball coach, you were also the dean of student culture. So talk a little bit about this role and what that means.
Yeah, so I was the dean of student culture for 3 years in the middle school here at GAC, and this last year, I'm the dean of student culture in the high school. So my role, encompasses a great amount there. Number one, we're trying to cultivate and provide the best peak moments for our students, right? So how can we do that? We have things like spiritual retreats, learning excursions, day to day. We have chapels, different events on campus that help these kids have the best environment possible, the best culture possible. But with that also comes discipline, right? So in order to have that culture, I'm the muscle, right? So
it sounds like from your long successful career in sports, you have great discipline.
Okay, I'm still working on my personal discipline, right?
Aren't we all?
Absolutely. But what I've found in this position, because when I was given this position 4 years ago, I was scared to death of it, right? I didn't know, kids have to come to me when they're at their worst and they're going to hate me throughout this. But the best piece of advice I got about this role was last year. I was moving into the high school dean of student culture role, and it's not a coveted position. I'm making it a coveted position. But I asked someone who I knew was in this role at another private Christian school, Athens Academy, and I asked him, I said, so are you a big discipline guy? His immediate answer, he didn't even think about it. He said, no, I'm a big love guy. And I said, boom. I said, if I can structure this position into loving kids, regardless of where they are, regardless of what they've done, and try to help raise them up, then it's going to be okay. So I strive everything I do to do it with love, whether it's those peak moments and everybody's having a blast, or you have made a tremendous mistake and you're in my office crying. I'm trying to embrace that with love, and I'm trying to help support you through that and everything that you do. So my role as dean of student culture has been a tremendous blessing to me in that way.
I think that what you just said is so powerful. No matter what they come to you with, you're going to combat that by loving them, right? By supporting them through whatever that is that they're going through. And that is huge. I know that was a huge part of the culture at Wingate on the basketball team, right? But also as a coach, I know that's got to be how you build your team as well.
Right. Well, see, I have such a unique story. All through high school and college, school wasn't really my thing, right? So I'm undiagnosed dyslexic, sorry. So lots of signs of dyslexia, ADHD, really hard for me to pay attention, really hard for me to sit in class and absorb. Sports was what I was so good at, right? So sports was my outlet, whereas, the school side of it wasn't great. So that helps me tremendously be able to relate to kids, whether it's on the court and my coaching and knowing, hey, this is their happy place. This is the place where they can come and they can let everything go. Understanding their home situations. Hey, they need this. This is an outlet for them. Or, just kind of encouraging them as a whole person in whatever aspect they need from me. So having the background that I do where, school wasn't really my thing, or I got in trouble a bunch, just being able to relate in that way has helped me tremendously.
So sports for you, I mean, that was your joy. But how
Absolutely.
did you get into sports? Like, you're a 3-sport player all through high school, and that's very demanding. And you do have to have the grades to be able to play. So how did you pick your sports? How did you get into that?
Yeah, so, grew up in Piscataway, New Jersey. I'm one of five children, so big family. All five of us in the span of 9 years. Had an older sister I was really close to, and my dad played football at Columbia University, and my mom, she played softball. So they were just sporty people.
Came from them.
Yeah, some of my earliest memories are playing kickball in the backyard, with all my siblings and my dad. I remember vividly playing basketball, on the blacktop outside of the house. My mom only letting me use my left hand. Older sister Lisa, she could only use her right hand, some of my earliest memories are sports. First sport, I think I played competitively. I played for the Roses. They were a softball team. My best friend's dad coached that team. Played soccer a bunch growing up. Started basketball in the second grade. I played because my older sister was playing. She was my idol at everything. So she played a lot of the sports that I played in high school, had a bunch of records in field hockey, basketball. She played at Illinois and Virginia Tech. Just sports loving family. It was what we did. We were outside constantly, which my mom liked us better outside.
Don't we all, right?
Yeah, so it's four girls and the last one's a boy, but a bunch of tomboys who just love to get dirty and play sports, and it was awesome.
I love that. I have to ask you something really quick. I'm taking us off topic, Lindsay. Like,
Go
you
for it.
know that I do. I love to do. So you were a multi-sport athlete. I'm assuming your parents, as athletes, encouraged you all to be multi-sport athletes. How late was it, or when did you finally kind of hone into what year, what level did you hone into focusing on only one or two sports?
Yeah, so I don't think it was this huge deal back then. You just played all these sports, right? I've used for middle school and high school, graduated high school in 99. So it was really, I'm just playing everything available. They signed us up for everything available. Had to get our energy out somehow. I think around so my older sister Lisa, I think she started playing AAU when she was in 10th grade. I was 2 years behind her in school, and so I think I picked up in the 10th grade, and we played for a excellent AAU program, New Jersey Demons, really, really solid program. And so 10th grade is where I really started doing extra outside of high school with just basketball.
Do you recommend, as a coach right now, do you recommend that your kids play more than their one sport?
Yes, play everything. Goodness gracious, and have fun and enjoy it. And I mean, that's what this time is for. The focusing on the one thing, and it's a challenge these days because everybody's telling you focus, going to give you the edge. But I mean, research shows that they're not going to be that much farther ahead. When they start so young. And so I love a multi-sport athlete. I want my kids to play everything they can. While I have a lot of girls that basketball is their main sport, some of them also play soccer. Right now, Molly Pritchard, she's the goalkeeper for Ohio State. So she, you knew that Molly was a soccer player, but I said, Molly, please play basketball for me. Please play basketball for me. So she said, all right, G, I'll play basketball for you. So she came out, she helped me win a state championship. But when soccer season came, soccer here is in the spring, which is really weird, but it overlapped. So, hey, Molly, go to soccer practice. Be here for the game tomorrow. I've got a lot of kids now that are playing flag football or volleyball in the fall. So that overlaps. So I'm okay with it. I'm going to work with it, unless it's affecting the state championship. I'm good with it.
Yeah. And it seems like kids like that, they're athletes, right?
Yep.
You want them to go and be athletes, and so much of their success, and I know we'll talk about this as we go on throughout today, is about their character, is about what they're developing from sports, like you talking about developing the character of a leader and how important that was in your journey in sports, but also in life, or developing that discipline or developing whatever it might be, the love of the game to want to work hard, even when it's not really fun at that moment.
Right.
You're having to run laps or whatever it might be. And so I love that.
How do you work with your athletes? So, because I know you have them as the dean of students, but then you're coaching them through life, basically, life skills, right? And then with sports, how do you get your kids to see setbacks or adversity they're facing as an opportunity? How do you help them develop that perseverance and grit?
Well, I don't think there's any growth if there's no, challenging moments, right? I see in a lot of cases now where parents want everything to be easy. I don't want everything to be easy for them. I want them to have to push through something so that they know and understand I did that. And so the next hard thing that comes up, they can do that too, right? So, I in no way, shape or form want to make things easy for them. But I also want to affirm them and let them know they can get through this. Whatever it is, they can get through it and they are not alone. Right. So I think a lot of times, I find, in the classroom, I teach honors geometry, a couple classes as well. Kids don't want to ask questions because they don't want to be wrong. And I want them to be okay with being wrong. Right. So that's in a classroom setting, just being able to fail at knowing, the properties of a rhombus. That's okay. Well, we'll do better with that.
Or you're going to
Right.
or you're going to figure it out.
Exactly. Getting their second tardy and getting a detention. That's okay. Don't be tardy again. Let's learn from it. Go serve what you've got to serve on the basketball court. Man, you've missed your last 10 shots. Shoot 11 because you can't, so with every challenge, there's an opportunity for growth and there's an opportunity to help them gain confidence and gain just strength and character in pushing through those hard things. I can be really tough and I can be super loving. My number one thing is I want them to know that I love them. I love them, whether that's, students in the classroom, in the hallways, or on the basketball court. I want them to know I love them. And then love is calling them up in every way, shape, or form, whether that's difficulty or whether that's praise. That's love. Yeah.
I think that's why you're successful. I mean, if you weren't like that, you wouldn't have the record you have. You wouldn't have earned your 100th win. Which congratulations, because that's huge. I mean, you have to have that rapport with your kids. They have to know that you believe in them and that it's safe to take those risks. It's okay to fail. And we've talked about this a whole lot because a lot of coaches, a lot of parents don't always recognize that because they're not in that seat. They're not in your position or, on the sidelines, but they have to be able to let their kid fail.
Well, it almost feels too a little bit like, and I'm sorry, it feels like it's conditional sometimes. Mm-hmm. And you said something which is really profound, which is like, I love them first. And then we deal with, okay, you missed 10 shots. Like, hey, work on this thing, do this thing differently. But it's not conditional on, hey, I'm going to love you a whole lot today because you scored 11 points or you got the most rebounds and I think that is challenging. I think sometimes if we're not really clear on how we come with our heart to say, hey, I love you. I love you as the person you were made to be, and you're going to fail and you're going to succeed. And on both sides of that, I'm going to love you. We're going to be here as parents, we're going to be here as coaches, and we're going to be here to support you through that.
Absolutely.
Well, one of my biggest challenges as a coach is I can say a whole lot and I can encourage a whole lot and I can lift up a whole lot, but what they hear on the car ride home matters more. So
I need you to say that louder for the parents.
Say it again.
And because that's what they want their parents' approval so much more than my approval. And telling them why on earth did you double dribble in the second quarter is not what they need to hear in that time, right? So it is okay to point out mistakes. It is okay, to kind of challenge them. But man, oh man, do they need to hear their parents say, I love you, and it's okay. You had a bad night, and that's okay. Because man, in the locker room, I'm gonna tell them everything they did wrong. I got no problem telling them.
Someone's already got that covered.
Hey, I got it covered, baby. But just having parent and they don't realize it sometimes. They think, man, this kid's not listening to me, or they haven't done a thing I've asked them to do in the past 3 months. But I'm telling you, what you say to them in the car on the way home is 10 times louder than what I tell them. No matter how much I do love them and want what's best for them. Parent partnership and parents being their biggest cheerleaders is the absolute best thing a parent can do to help their kid be successful.
Every bit of what you just said. Yes. We have this thing we say, we're like, who your kid meets after they play the best game of their life and who they meet after they play the worst game in their life needs to be the same person. It needs to be consistent,
Absolutely.
What else are you noticing? Because you have the high school group. So what are you noticing in that age group of kids that they're struggling with? That's maybe something that we don't notice as parents. Like, what are the struggles you see with our kids in that group today?
Yeah, it's hard. Accountability, I would say, is the number one issue that I see with kids these days, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I had a problem with accountability. So I don't know if that's a new thing. It's certainly not new for me, but being able to own your mistakes and to own what you've done, to me, is the only way you're going to correct what you've done. We don't have to talk about it, but I am getting my doctorate in educational leadership right now. And, kind of part of I think I'm writing my dissertation on discipline, but with that comes accountability. You can't fix a problem unless you admit that you have it, right? So, something as simple as on the basketball court, when a kid makes a mistake, saying my bad is very, very hard for a lot of kids these days. They've got a reason for everything. It's been the number one thing that me and my coaching staff, I have the best coaching staff in the world. I'm going to say that right now. I have to give them a shout out, but my coaching staff is phenomenal, but we want to hold them accountable, and they've got a reason for everything. And we're like, we're not listening to reasons right now. We're telling you what you've done and we're telling you how to fix it. But if you don't own that you've done it, we can't go anywhere. So I would, and that's on and off the court, as my role of dean of students, a very similar thing coming in. You did this. Well, I got a million reasons why I did it. No, you did it, right? So I would say the number one issue that kind of I deal with is kind of really accountability and just being able to own it. That is hard. That is a hard thing.
Adults, Jess.
Oh my goodness gracious. Pride is real. Pride gets in the way. Ego gets in the way. Like I said, I had a big problem with accountability as well. I've always been a super confident person. And I think confidence is okay. But when arrogance gets in the way and pride gets in the way, it prevents you from being greater in most of the things you've done. So I'm working on my humility, constantly working on that, and really encouraging my kids to do it as well, because man, it's really, really hard to fix a problem when you don't admit you have it.
Yeah, it's good to hear you say that. I'm glad I'm not the only one who struggles with my pride and working on it. And I feel like I'm continuously having to, very much what you're saying, model that for my children of, hey, I did that wrong, or that wasn't the best way. I'm going to own that thing. And my expectation in doing that is that when it's your turn to own your thing, it goes full circle, right? Yep. And so not being able to point fingers, my favorite saying is that every time you point a finger at someone else, you point 3 back at yourself. And so we talk about that a lot as a family around, well, it wasn't your coach, it wasn't your teammate. Like, what part did you own in that process, and what could you change? Because the only thing you can do is control the controllables that you own. And so that's interesting to hear you say that. I think we still struggle with it even as adults. I know.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I do.
I like the phrase too. Confidence is okay. Arrogance gets in the way. I wrote that down because look, that is right there. There's your catchphrase. Paint it in the locker room.
I'm gonna put it on the locker room. There you go.
Confidence is okay. Arrogance gets in the way, because really that will shut a team down.
Yeah.
You have a team of players that are not self-reflective and don't own things. If they're not open to recognizing that in the first place, then you're never going to grow, and you're never going to grow as a person.
And I'll take accountability. I would say, my stint in Asheville, I was so arrogant. I did not help my team. I was.
You were really good.
While my numbers were fantastic, I did not help make that team as successful as it could have been. My arrogance, big time, got in the way there, and I'll take complete ownership for that. I was a wreck, and I'm so sorry to all my coaches.
Well, but that's something that a coach like you can coach a player like that, because you're able to recognize that and be like, hey, I want to make you a leader. Let's use this incredible talent you have and turn you into a leader on the court. And what does that look like?
Yeah. The biggest challenge I have ever had was coaching a player like me. It made me not want to coach anymore. I'm serious.
Talk about that more. That's hard.
Yeah, explain that.
No, it was so hard because I just constantly wanted to shake her and say, stop it. I need you to stop it, because it was her. It was like all this, self-pity and I can't, it's all about her. And I said, you are hurting all of us. Your desire for perfection is hurting all of us. You are so good. You are leading us in scoring. You are leading us in rebounding. You have all of the pieces to be this unbelievable player, but you are getting in your own way. And that was so hard for me, because I would come home and I'd constantly say, what could I have said to me to get me out of it? And I couldn't come up with anything. And talk about self-reflection. I was like, and that's when I first really started just being so sorry for my coaches.
I was working on you a little bit in that process too. There have been times in my life where I feel like, okay, you're working on me here, and it's not me, but you're working on me.
Genuinely, like it broke my heart for her because she was getting in her own way so much and it was hurting the whole team. And I didn't know how to help her or the team. And it made me feel like a failure because my greatest joy is having a locker room where everybody wants to walk in, or I just want everybody, having a good time. But it was very, very, very difficult.
Winning as many or going to state championships as many times as you have definitely have the experience that you create a culture where it's a team culture and you're playing for each other. And so I'm sure that's really hard, but also something to think about as parents, as we coach our young athletes is, coaches are looking for people that are going to fit into that team culture if you're playing a team sport. And so not having that can really hurt your player in a way with their coach and also with their team.
Yeah. I mean, and you did a little bit with the recruitment when you were at Francis Marion. So, I mean, that must give you some things to be looking for and to help your players get ready for, like, hey, this is what's going to get you to the next level.
Oh yeah. Talk about that. What are you looking for when you're recruiting? Yes. Let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, it's so funny because me and my fellow coaches, we have a group chat with the team and we are constantly sending them videos of like what coaches are looking for, right? I don't think they watch any of those things, but
I'm sorry, did we listen to anything that the nice people in our life?
My biggest thing is what can I say to them that's actually going to stick, right? So, the things that they think are so important, scoring, they just care how hard you are working and the kind of teammate that you are, right? Athleticism is easy to spot, right? Potential is easy to spot, but those little intangibles, man, are you all over the floor? Are you fighting for absolutely everything? Are you giving high fives? Are you saying my bad? Look, those little things matter so much. It's so funny. Like just last week is when I sent them the last one, and it was somebody going around at a live event asking, these big time college coaches, what are you looking for? And the first thing every single one of those coaches said was, I ain't looking for who scores the most. And I sent it to my girls and I said, please listen. If you're not going to listen to me, listen to the people you want watching you this summer. So that's what I sent to them. Hopefully one of them watched it. But how hard they play matters. The kind of teammate they are matters. They think that if they're sitting on the bench, nobody's watching them. But when they're sitting on the bench, man, if a coach is there to see you and you are sitting on the bench, they are watching you on the bench. They are watching the way that you cheer for your teammates. They are watching the way that you encourage the people around you. They're watching how invested you are in the game, and they don't get that. I had a player, being recruited, last year, and I took her out. She's like, "Why are you taking me out? They're here to watch me." I said, "They're here to watch you do this too." So I'm gonna give them the opportunity to watch you be a teammate. So those little things are what they are looking for the absolute most. The things that they don't think they're watching are what they're looking for the most.
I love that so much, Jess, and that's so much of our heart and why we created SPAN is like helping our young athletes and their families understand that it's so much bigger than that. The work ethic that they're seeing in you, the perseverance, the grit, the discipline, the love of team, the great teammate, those are transferable skills for life. Those aren't just like shooting as many shots. You're not taking that into any job, but the other skills are transferable. And so I love that you really call attention to, they're looking for all those things.
Yeah. How you're not just, this one layer athlete or
a dynamic
dynamic, have all the pieces of being a good quality person that can be molded.
Yeah. So I have a girl right now who is a super crazy hard worker, one of the hardest workers that I've ever coached. She was new to me last year, and I had a D1 coach come up to me after a game and ask me about her. So I went to her and I said, "Hey, such and such was asking about you." And they're like, "But I only scored 8 points." And I was like, "But you were busting your tail. You didn't stop working the entire game, And so I have no idea what has created this mindset of scoring points is what gets you recruited because it's not.
I love that. I'm gonna have to share that, Jess, with my oldest because I think sometimes he's really hard on himself about whatever the stats might be. But this kid, I kid you not, has the discipline and work ethic that is just unrivaled. I don't know where he gets it from, but some days I'm like,
oh, he totally gets it from her.
That's awesome.
Oh my
She
goodness.
was like a crazy lady. So yes, no. And I think that's something that younger kids right now, they're so worried about winning, right? Even so, August played select baseball now. I don't even know how many seasons. I've lost track. I live at the ball fields. But last year, their team didn't win a game, a single game the whole fall. And at the end of every tournament, it wasn't like his head was down and he was super upset. I mean, he'd be a little bummed sometimes, but it was more of like, are you improving? Are you growing? Are you having fun? Are you loving it? Do you feel confident, in how you're progressing? And that mattered more to him than, the plastic rings that they get at the end of a tournament if they win. And I think that's something that we need to try to help get the message out for all kids in youth sports. It's like no college coaches are looking at your stats when you're 11. They don't care about your stats when you're a freshman. I mean, maybe sophomore year they're going to start looking, but really it's who you are that speaks volumes.
Well, and I will say winning is fun, though. We do like to win. I mean,
fun.
we're all competitive here, right? I think we have a group of
Winning is fun. Winning is
very
fun.
competitive people in this room right now.
But I think it's so important of like, again, it's the character we're building. It's the love of the game. It's the,
That
and
work
Jess, you
ethic.
said this so good. I think I'm not going to say it as perfectly as you said it earlier, but I mean, they're getting to do something fun that they love. We ran into someone one time. We were actually fishing, and it was a gentleman. He had played college baseball and then coached high school baseball for a while. And he asked my son, he said, "Do you like it?" And he said, "Yeah, I like it. I really do." And he said, "What's the first thing the umpire says at the beginning of every game? Can you tell me?" And he said, "I don't know." And he says, "Play ball, because it's a game. And every time you go out there, can you just remember that for me, that you get the opportunity to play a game, and it should be treated like that. It should be fun. It should be joyful. Yes, you want to work hard. Yes, you want to win, but like, it's a game."
Yep. If it's not fun, especially at that age, and in high school, I mean, it's never going to be fun again, right? So you've got to at some point love it, but the only way that that's going to happen is if it's fun, if it's enjoyable. Like you said, it is a game, right? It's not work. You're not playing work, right? Like you said, you're playing a game, and games are fun, right? And I will agree with you. Winning games is more fun.
Much more fun. So much fun.
He's
Yeah.
got me on the same page there. I'm like, yes, there's a lot to learn when you lose, but there's a lot of fun when you win.
But it's not the ultimate thing,
Yeah.
right? So it is fun, but I hate to lose more than I love to win. And it's fun, but at the same time, it's just the process of getting there that is the most enjoyable part. Like for me, Lindsay mentioned I've coached in 3 state championship games. I've won all 3 of those seasons. Were incredible, were dreams. And the seasons I went 14-14, we're still there's so much to take away from that, right? So yeah. Yep.
That when you were younger, you wish you would have had access to as a player that really would have like propelled you? I know we asked earlier, we kind of talked, but like think about what would have made a big difference for you.
Yeah, so many things are just so very different from, when I grew up. I mean, just having these kind of one-on-one coaches. I've got 11 nieces and nephews, and my sister Lisa, whose son Jonathan, he'll go to like a hitting coach, right? And I'm like, I can't even think about if I went to a hitting coach. Like mom and dad got me a coach for my shot. Like I couldn't even imagine it, right? But for me, I think what would have helped me kind of more than anything was being able to just talk to somebody about like identity. My identity was in my sports. I remember like it was yesterday, walking off the basketball court at Carson Newman for my last ever basketball game. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I called my mom on a payphone collect, and I said, "What am I supposed to do?" She said, "Get on the bus and go back to school." Like, but like, that was my life, right? So, having someone in my life be able to tell me that I was more than a great athlete would have been, amazing. And listen, my parents were absolutely phenomenal people. They love me to death. They support me in everything that I do. But, I mean, just knowing what I know now, more than anything, what I try to reiterate to my players is, you are more than a basketball player. You are more, tears after game when I know it's just because they didn't shoot well. What are we talking about? You are more than that, and that is okay. So, I think having access to somebody with that kind of experience to show me that I was more than just, an athlete would have been really beneficial to me. All the skills coach, development would have been great because I was a pretty good athlete. But no, just for me, somebody to be able to talk to tell me I was more than.
So hard. Jess, I appreciate you sharing that because it's really hard when you are, and I think about this for a lot of kiddos that are just naturally great athletes. It could be a trap for many parents and even coaches to just continually almost affirm that identity that is rooted in something that is so valuable. Instead of, and obviously the very Christian podcast, having your identity rooted in something that's so much bigger and greater than that. Yeah, that can really be something that happens, I think, to a lot of our athletes that are very good very early. Is it's like, well, you're a basketball player, or you're a soccer player, or you're a football player, you're whatever this thing is. But wait a second, that's not who the Bible says we are. That's who God says we are.
Oh, absolutely. And one of my greatest blessings is being able to teach and coach at a Christian school. So every Wednesday during basketball season, I have a different speaker, another coach, or just mentor from our athletic department come and talk to these kids about who God made them, and being grounded in that, in who God made them, and how incredible they are outside of any mistakes that they made or their field goal percentage or anything else. Being rooted in who God made them, to me, is the number one thing that I want them to walk out of my program knowing.
So Stacey just had me turn around. So this is something that's I couldn't have asked you to speak about that more perfectly than you just did, because that's something that we are so passionate about. Is, we look at our athletes' careers are going to end. The journey's going to end, whether that's 5th grade, whether that's 8th grade, high school, college, pros, whenever, that journey ends, they need to know who they are. They need to have that foundation, the grounding. So Stacey had me turn and look, because it says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." It's just,
Yep.
That's the root of it.
That's right.
Our kids have to have that.
Well, and even we talk about this a lot, but I watched a Bible study the other day in Right Now Media from Daryl Strawberry. And you think about, this man was highly successful, amazing baseball player. And he's talking and he's like, I struggled with who I was when I was done. And as a parent, I never want my kid to be, great, wonderful. They make it get to play in high school only, get to play in, I never want them to not know who God says they are.
Yeah.
And I grew up in more scary than any failure on the field or court.
Absolutely. And I grew up in a really Christian home, went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. My dad now is a pastor of his own church up in Princeton, New Jersey. So, but somewhere along the way, I would, like I said, I'd get in trouble a lot. I have all this energy. And I just thought that I wasn't good enough in those regards. This is what I was good at. But like you said, when it ended, well, what am I good at? I'm not good at anything else. And I really, really struggled with my identity. That is what got me into coaching, because that was all I knew I was good at. I was good at basketball. And that is why I started coaching basketball. And that has opened up all of these doors. But the reality of the situation is, my late teens, early 30s, I found a friend who really asked me, well, do you know what God thinks you are? Do you know who God says you are? And I'd be like, man, I can never be good enough for what God, says. And they were like, well, I don't think you know who God is then. And so I went on this journey of realizing who God was. And in that journey of realizing who God was, I realized who I was in him. And it's crazy to think I had all that church, and it's nobody's fault but my own. But having to take that long for me, I don't want it to take that long for my kids. I don't want it to take that long.
I feel like the purpose in you going through that was so that you can have this role right now, where it's like, hey, I needed you to go through that. I needed you to be that player in Asheville. I needed you to have that little identity crisis, because now I can do my work through you and make such an impact on the lives of these kids. I love that. I'm not glad that you didn't know who you were, but I'm glad that God had control of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a plan in all of that, which I love. And I love you sharing that. Thank you for just being so raw and honest, and also sharing that you grew up in a Christian home. Because I think sometimes we think there still is a lot of intentionality in some of the things that we're doing here that we really want to pour into our children and our kiddos. And I also want to mention, we talked about this earlier, but we have to do a shout out. Your sister has an amazing podcast too that she does. So for all of our mamas who are needing some additional listening, can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my sister started a podcast about, I think it's a little over 2 years ago. It's called Help Me Abide. It's a Christian womanhood podcast, just talking to different women who have gone through things. And it's extremely encouraging. She's my younger sister, Jen, and she is phenomenal. She has three boys, and she has a special needs daughter, Brooklyn. And her testimony in and of itself is absolutely unbelievable. So really, yeah, I encourage you guys. There's tons of different topics from women all over the country and all over the world. She was a missionary in Ghana, West Africa. So she's got a lot of missionary wives on. But no, I really think that would be a blessing to your listeners if they could check her out. Help Me Abide.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I'm so glad that, you were able to talk with us and that we were able to just have this experience with you tonight. Because I think a lot of times, as athletes and as parents of athletes, we're missing that coach perspective. We're missing like what you're seeing as the coach, and you can just share it. And it's not like you're sharing it to the kids' parents that are in front of you. You're sharing it to parents who have no idea where you're coaching and what your day-to-day is, but the takeaways are all so important.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah. Anything before we get ready to wrap up that you don't feel like you got to share with our listeners, with young athletes, with parents, with coaches listening, like anything you feel like that's on your heart that you would share that you didn't get to?
No, I mean, first and foremost, so thankful to be here with you guys. This has been really fun for me and just nice to talk to you guys. My biggest kind of takeaway and encouragement for parents, love your kids through the good times and the bad times. What Lindsay said earlier, they need to see the same face after a win as after a loss, and that is critically important. What you do and what you say to them matters more than what anybody else does or says to them. And so that's I think to me the biggest takeaway. But also it's funny, we talked about that accountability piece, and I found that parents can get on their kids, but when the coaches get on their kids, there's a button that's been pushed there. Let your coaches get on your kids. Trust that your coaches love your kids enough to call them up and help your kids take ownership of their stuff. When they come home, and I'm sure plenty of kids have gone home and said, "Oh, Coach G said this and this and this, and she said I got to work on this." We'll say, "Man, I trust that she knows what you need to work on, not, man, she's an idiot," right? So the way that you talk about me matters. The way that you talk about your coach's kid matters, because like I said earlier, your opinion matters. So we as coaches need your support more than anything. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to do the wrong thing. I'm going to call the wrong play. I'm going to say the wrong thing. But man, your support is critical to me being able to help your kid grow and evolve. And we got to work together. We want the same thing. I promise. We want the same thing for your kid.
That's great. And it's a great reminder to us parents as we're sitting and we are not the coach, which our job is very different, to just be really aware of our words. So when the coach is challenging our kiddo, have better body language. Hey, hustle more. Hey, be a great teammate. Hey, shake it off. They do love them, and they are calling them to better things. And so the moment we negate that, or if we don't really support that, it can be challenging for our kiddo to grow in the way you're calling them to grow. So that's great feedback for our parents.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it was so fun doing this with you, and I'm so happy to see you. So
Same.
It's been a while.
For sure.
And Jess, great to meet you. Thank you for all of your shared wisdom, and thank you for just how you give your life away, pouring into young athletes and their families, and just all that you do for your students as the Dean of Student Culture. So thank you for being with us today and some of your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Stay tuned for future podcasts where we will bring on more exciting guests in the sports world, highlight spotlight coaches, athletic directors, former and current collegiate and professional sports players, sports dietitians, sports psychologists, and more.
What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you.
Don't forget to join our community and get more exclusive content through social media channels such as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X at @span_athletics.
Until next time, stay faithful, stay fueled, and remain focused on your goals.